is this evening, so we'll go ahead and get started. Please take roll.
Ms. Atkins, Mr. Houston,
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel. Here. Mrs. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Stoffer,
Here.
Mr. Wyledge,
Here.
Mrs. Shekel.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the April 17th, 2023 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to talk, if you're asking for public comment at this.
No,
time.
we're not to that point yet, and we'll make sure that we, it's actually number 4 on the list, so we'll get through our meeting and get to that point. Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Mrs. Shekel.
Yes. Commendation and good news.
All right, so first, we have some guests with us today. So we have Paul. Paul, what's your last name? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Paul second here. Emery, that's what I mean. Emery. What's your last name, Emery? Loftus. Very cool. And we have, your parents are with us too, aren't they? Yeah. What are your parents' names? Christopher and Amber. Okay, well, thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. And they are here to talk about the money they raised for the American Heart Association. And you are you a kindergartner at Kraft? Yes. Very good. He's got a really cool hairdo. And I also see he's super talkative. All right, what do you guys have for us?
I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come this evening and share about the American Heart Association fundraiser at Kraft. Like I said, I'm Paul Scheckinger, and this is Emery Loftus. And Emery here, he raised the most money out of everybody at Kraft. He raised over $2,000 for the American Heart Association.
Wow. Good job.
Which is just amazing. This is actually my first year teaching PE at Kraft, and to be honest with you, I was a little hesitant to do the American Heart Association fundraiser because I wasn't sure if kindergarten and first graders could grasp the concept of the fundraiser, and I was completely wrong. We set the goal at $3,000, and as a school, we raised almost $12,000.
Wow.
It's just amazing.
You almost got 3,000 on your own.
And honestly, the coolest thing about the whole fundraiser was, to the kids, it wasn't about the money that we raised. When the American Heart Association spokesperson came to Kraft, they told us that for every $50 raised, a life is saved. And the kids really took hold of that. And when they would come to PE, they'd say, "Mr. Ress, how many lives have we saved today?" And so it wasn't about how much money we raised. It was helping people. And so that just made the whole fundraiser just so much more special for me, knowing that that's how they viewed the fundraiser. As we went through the fundraiser, we had different incentives for the students. One of them was if they reached $1,000, which they reached right away, I would go up on the roof and greet students in the morning. So this is a picture of that. And it was just so cool, and the kids were so excited to see me up on the roof, and it was so much fun being able to greet them up there. And tell you, when they came to PE that week, they had just 100 questions for me about being up on that roof. And then the next slide here, as they continued through the fundraiser, the whole fundraiser goal was to get $3,000. And when they got that, we had a kindergarten, first grade glow stick dance party. And so these are just a few pictures from that. It was so cool to have that dance party and to see the kids dance and kind of their different personalities coming out as they dance. And I had fun being able to dance with them too. It was just an awesome afternoon. And then the next slide here is this is actually a video of Emery doing hands-only CPR. When parents would sign into and log into the fundraiser online, there were different badges that could be completed in hands. Oh, there we go. And when Emery's mom posted this video on Facebook, it just blessed my heart to see it. He was being a learner, wanting to learn more, and then also wanting to save lives. And so, just so cool. He really took this fundraising to another level. You know, the amount he raised was one thing, but doing things like that completely next level. So Emery, as the one that raised the most out of the whole school, he actually got to be principal for the morning and got to have a pizza party for his class. Emery, do you want to share just a little bit about what it was like to be principal for the day? What were some things that you got to do?
Sample stuff like there's like something.
Yeah, the stapling some things was fun. Yeah. This is a picture of Miss Hedrick greeting him in the morning. You can see he has a walkie on his side, and he got to go visit the classrooms and see what went on in the different classrooms.
Oh,
And
that was last.
what's that?
You're going to you're starting at the last. thing.
Starting at the last thing. Oh, that was the last thing that he did, was get to go see the classrooms.
First, I greeted the people.
And you got to greet people in the morning as they came in. Yeah.
We're not that scary, but
And so he got to do lots of fun things, and actually at at lunch I came and joined their class for the pizza party, and his classmates got into it too. They were calling him Mr. Loftus in the classroom. He really got the respect of being principal for that morning, which is really
Did you
cool.
give everybody extra recess?
My really favorite food too was I helped Mr. Mike for the dolphins.
Oh, he got Mr. Mike, one of the custodians, he got to go around and do a security check. He said that was one of his favorite things.
Very
Which
cool.
is great. I want to thank you guys for letting us come this evening to celebrate some of the things going on at CREF. I just feel blessed to be in this district and be able to work with awesome kids like this every day. So thanks again for having us.
absolutely.
Thank you too.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good job, bud.
This is a Heart Hero medal.
Oh,
So one more gift, buddy.
awesome
Great
job.
All right.
Can you and Mr. Schneckenberg, can you guys, is it Schneckenberg, is that?
Scheckinger.
Scheckinger.
Mr. S.
Ah, okay. I will get it soon, Scheckinger. I have two of you guys, so.
That's right.
All right, so you guys want to pop up here and I'll get you a quick picture of you guys for coming and
Yeah, come on
presenting?
up.
Let you guys come
Do we take it?
stand, we'll stand right over here,
Can we get
next to
going?
this wall, okay? Okay. Ready? Big cheese? Oh, let me see that medal, I can't see it.
There you go.
Big cheese? There we go. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good job, guys.
Thank you for coming. He's gonna leave it out.
Love it.
Sure.
To it. So, I really want to thank everyone here with the Little Central School Board and School District. Emery's mother, Amberly, and I have a combined experience in EMS and hospital and ICU, critical care for, I think, a combined 25 years between the two of us. So we have used this training from the American Heart Association countless times to save lives in the hospital, outside of the hospital. This information really does save lives, and I can't thank you guys so much. And I can't thank you enough for providing this information to the community and our school for this. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Okay, we have another group, quick, and I really want to thank these two for coming tonight. And I have Miss Stacy Goodman and Mr. Matthew Hankus. There we go. Okay, I won't butcher every name tonight. So these guys are with iOS Foundation, and we have applied for a grant, and they have granted it to us to really allow us to take a huge step in college and career readiness planning for our high school students. They have worked with us to help us get a grant for $100,000 that will completely fund a college and career readiness counselor for our high school to really ensure that every single student that comes through has a plan and has a way to get to where they want to be in order to be successful after high school. So everything from apprenticeships to connections with the community, connections with colleges, doing tour. I mean, you name it. This counselor will be able to guide that work for us, and so we are forever grateful for these two. So.
Yeah, so we just want to come and celebrate with you for a second and say we're really excited about the work that we're going to be embarking upon together. For us, this even preceded Dr. Hazing a little bit, working with Pot County superintendents, where our goal is we've been hearing that really the time to work with kids to get them on a path to be able to be successful in life and to have livable opportunities is in high school. When they're still in your grasp, you still have a little bit of opportunity to work with them left. And so we've been working with each district separately and trying to find what's the right way that we can support you, because we think that your district is the expert in your kids. So rather than creating a one-size-fits-all solution, we wanted to tailor it a bit more. Dr. Hazing's been working with us, and these are his ideas that we're helping to kind of make happen. So we're really excited to do this work with you and to create the integration of the work-based opportunities with your curriculum and to move forward together. So congratulations on your work in our process, but really it's Dr. Hazing's ideas that we're trying to make happen. So thanks for letting us be part of that.
Thank you. I think this is a wonderful addition. I know my daughter was in dance from 8 through high school, and she thought she'd be a dancer, and then, things happen. She wasn't a dancer, and she went to a counselor to take a test. What am I good at? What would be my fit? And nursing. And so she is a nurse today. And so hopefully this will be a program that will help our students from the right age on up to kind of figure it out. And you don't know after you graduate, but this would at least give them a good idea what direction to go in that. So this is
And
great.
it sounds like they're getting better. I was going to be a museum docent when I took the high school test. So
Oh.
turns out they don't pay you to do that. Thanks, high school.
Yes.
But anyway, we appreciate a little bit of your time, and we just wanted to come and say we're looking forward to the work, and thanks for everything.
Okay, well,
We are
thank
grateful
you.
for everything you guys do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, any more commendations and good news?
Nope.
Okay.
Just a reminder that Freaky Friday's this weekend.
Oh, yes.
So come see the show.
We did just have prom as well, and I didn't hear of any, sounds like prom was safe and good and quiet. Quiet's good. So,
Absolutely.
Got a little dark in post-prom, I hear, though.
oh, did it?
Yeah, I heard they had a power outage
Where did they do post prom at?
at the hub.
Oh, interesting. Huh?
Uh-oh.
I did not hear that.
My daughter does make stories up, but calling my wife at 12:10 in the morning was, we were happy she was there, but
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, they lost power in half the building. So,
Well, for some kids, that could be good news.
right, right. I tell you, like, you gotta examine the source, so it might be quasi-true,
Gotcha.
but she had a great time, and it was, beyond all expectations.
Well, we appreciate our parents and our staff members who are able to get together and provide those opportunities for our kids. They create long-lasting memories, so.
Absolutely. And the movie is at the football field, correct?
No.
Oh, this is the musical.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So we,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon.
okay, so we will, that's right. I get some things mixed up with everything going on, so, all right. We'll go on now to comments and suggestions. This is a portion during our meeting that anyone that's in the audience or online, if they want to type something in, can address the board. I believe you wanted to say something. If you would state your name and your, and also, we have policy 213, and it's limited, speakers are limited to the 5 minutes. So you're welcome to come forward.
Okay. I'm Roger Williams. I graduated from this school and got a good education. I would like to speak in regards to last board meeting that I was not able to attend because I was working. So most of my information come from the newspaper, and I spoke with Mr. Hosing on the phone, and one of the issues, according to him, was sewer line in the high school has been a continuous problem, mainly because the contractor that installed it did not put a pad between a stainless steel hanger and copper tubing. And rather than try and get in my pocket over there, there's numerous pockets that I would suggest to go after. One of them is the contractor that put it in there. The second one is the general contractor that hired the contractor. And the third is the city of Council Bluffs. They had to approve that plumbing permit, plus they also had to do an inspection on it and sign off on it. If they signed off on that permit, that meant everything was fine, and they missed that. So that's 3 or 4 different pocketbooks to dig into before you dig into mine or any other taxpayer. Another thing that he brought up was the roof. I believe it's on the middle school. Apparently there's some leakage there. I don't know exactly where it's leaking. I don't know if any of you do. The first direction I would go on that, rather than spending a considerable amount of money to replace a whole roof that might have 1 leak or 2, talk to your custodians, talk to your maintenance staff. If there is a drip of water coming through on the auditorium stage down there, go up on the roof, do a little investigating, fix that area. Don't spend $100,000 when $5,000 would solve the problem. I wrote a lot of things down. I know there's been and a lot of this is what I read. One of them was the wants and wishes for an industrial arts. Normally I'd be all over that, right up my alley. But you just tore down the industrial arts building. I've got a problem with building another one. That's not wise expenditure of my tax dollar. And speaking of tax dollars, I believe the last board meeting dealt a lot with a push on a bond issue. And, well, I've got a problem with that, seeing as how a bond was just taken out for a auditorium for, I believe, $20 million, which will cost $27 million, $7 million interest by the time it's paid off in 20 years. You can only go to the well so many times. It's not, sometimes you gotta play with what you have. All the furniture not matching in different classrooms, well, I don't know where that's such a problem, but if you've got 10 blue chairs and 10 red chairs in classroom A, and the same in classroom B, put all the blue chairs in classroom A and put all the red ones in classroom B. It's not rocket science. All the taxpayers, if you all live around here, were probably hit with a 40 to 50% tax assessment on your properties. I know I was 50%. And to try and dip into my pocket some more and the other taxpayers, I don't think that's the direction to go. You're taking a second mortgage out, so to speak, on your home. If you're trying to borrow again against money that you're hoping to get from, I can't tell you, it's the sales tax revenue that you've already borrowed against. Now, I could go on 100 different directions here, but I encourage you all to spend the money wisely. If some of the things, such as a $560,000 AstroTurf on a football field, it's not a priority in life, or not spent, you could put a new desk and chair in every single classroom of all of these buildings with that money. That is not a priority. Neither is a state-of-the-art scoreboard for also over $500,000. Now, I read about that at some point in time, I can't come up with the terminology, but the people that sell snacks and things are gonna be repaying that back, and Iowa Western's gonna pick up a little bit of that money too. Well, all of you and me supplement Iowa Western. Tax dollars go there.
We
Just
are,
like they go here.
we are at the 5-minute limit.
That's fine.
And so, thank you for coming. And we appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we do take everything seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone online? Okay. We'll go to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
There is.
Updated personnel sheet?
updated Personnel sheet.
Okay.
Those that are new are marked with asterisks.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer.
Yes.
Mr. Weidlich.
Yes.
Ms. Atkins.
Yes.
Mr. Houston.
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel. Or Mrs. Shepherd, excuse me.
Yes. All right, we'll go to report 6.01, planned summer projects.
Okay, so I'm gonna have Dave pull this up.
Do you want this sheet?
Yep, pull up the sheet, if you would. Okay, so when I came in here back in July, there wasn't anything like this that I could find. And so dug around a bunch, tried to figure out exactly what the projects were. We're still finding some projects that were approved last year and not yet performed because of either they didn't have materials or they weren't able to find time to do the work, or et cetera. And so there are still a few things that we're stumbling upon that as we find out about them, then we'll continue to push forward. But those are things that were approved by previous employees that the records just weren't there. So we're trying to figure out like what is still out there. These are things that how we did this is a mix of myself, our operations director, our maintenance guys, our tech guys, our building principals, building leadership teams, going through their buildings and deciding, what exactly is what's on our list. Like, what are things that are going to be 0 to 1 years, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and then 6 to 10, and then 10 plus that we need to make sure we have on this. This is a working document, so we're constantly changing and updating this. And so one of the things I want you guys to look at is the color coding. So if it's an actual quote, it's blue. That means we got the quote. It has not yet been approved, or we got a quote for it. Green means that we got the quote and we're going to plan to do it this summer. Yellow means it's already complete. Okay. So we had a couple things that were started last year that we just followed through this year, but because it's falling in this fiscal year, we had to pay for it in this fiscal year. So it kind of goes down there. If you go down the bottom, Dave, go ahead and scroll on the bottom. You'll see down here that our annual budget is right around $2 million. So you can see budgeted over there. This is based upon the money that we get from our 1 cent sales tax and our both board and community voted PEPL. So that's that's the amount of money that we spend on a yearly basis. Because we are such a large district, things that fall underneath this, those budgetary items, or anything over $500 that are considered facility related. If it's we fixed plumbing, that does not come out of this. That comes out of our general fund, which can be used to pay for teachers, et cetera. If we replaced something, and so we made it new, or we updated it, or we added it, then it can come out of these two funds, the PEPL or the SAVE. And so as you can see, our district-wide projects, we budget about $1.25 million every year for that. That would include everything from exterior and internal that we have to do. So whether it's roofs or remodels, renovations, additions, anything along those lines would go in district projects. Equipment would be anything that we purchase that's like a large-scale equipment. So if we purchased a lawn tractor, we purchased a snow plow, we purchased a scrubber for the school, or we purchased, I'm trying to think what else would maybe fit underneath that equipment budget. We purchased a snake for plumbing, like those things that are kind of larger ticket items would go underneath the equipment. Vehicles would be anything related to transportation, so whether it's a smaller vehicle like a car, an SUV, or like a maintenance truck, or if it's a school bus, that all goes under vehicles. And then furniture is anything we have that's furniture related. And then we have safety money. So that's one of the things that's new. It's that safety grant that came out from the governor. It's $50,000 per building. So we're going to be bringing in $200,000, but that's there as a budget because we are not sure when we're going to be able to fill that out to be able to move forward with those projects. It probably won't be this year. We'll probably end up seeing that float over to next year. So that gives us the total amount, and that 1975 is not including the safety. So about $2 million is our annual budget. That's what we bring in from our PEPL and our SAVE, and then minus a little bit minus the money that we send out for like the bond payments that the gentleman referenced about for the auditorium and the ops building. And then we actually try to carry over a little bit in case we need to end up doing a larger project. So that's what that money is. And then on the left, you'll see the total dollar amount. Originally, when they came in with all of their requests and everything that they would like to have happen, this was well into the threes. We knocked it down. I told them we're not leaving here until we get it down to a budgetary number. We were all the way down to about $2,050,000, and then some of the things that are popping back up on this are things that were already pre-approved but weren't completed that we're finding out about now. And so that's what this number keeps inching up. We do have money set aside, so we have a carryover fund that we have money in that I mentioned. We try to make sure we carry some over. So it's just eating into that carryover fund, but it's not very far off the budget. And so if you scroll back up, and by the way, at the end of the day, if you go down, Dave, one more second. At the end of the day, even though we might say, we're setting aside, $200,000 or let's see here, $75,000 in furniture. If we have something else that needs to take precedence, we go ahead and do, we're going to do that over furniture. And so we're only replacing 2 classrooms of furniture this year because we have other larger issues that we had to take care of. And so at the end of the day, all that really matters to me are those last 2 numbers, just to make sure we know what the total budgetary number is, and then what we're looking at as far as projects. So if you scroll up, Dave. So here are the things that have come out of there. So there was some carpet that was already approved for CREF that didn't take place until Christmas break. There was a concrete walk behind CREF that took place this fall. We are currently trying to get some bids on just a one library speaker control that allows us to control the volume. The volume in there right now is insane. Like I have no idea why they would ever put that in the library. Like it's really squawks at you. And so trying to figure out how we can turn that down. Same thing, speaker costs they must have the same speaker issue problem at the Titan Hill office. We're replacing one classroom carpet at Titan Hill. And if it's blue, it's estimates, and they're rounded estimates. We do have some quotes, but we were waiting on another quote, so I kind of left that number vague. I didn't put it in there because I didn't want somebody watching this and say, I'm just going to squeak underneath there. We've already got our quotes. I'm just wanted to protect that competitive bid process. Expand street and curb. That's what we did on the Titan Hill walk here. We added outlets in the nursing area. We're now looking at some hallway carpet that you guys will have an opportunity to approve tonight in the flooring area. And then that would replace all of the corridor carpet in Titan Hill. It's been there a very long time. It's really, really rough. And then swimming pool pump that was already replaced over Christmas break. We are going to purchase some new basketball hoops for the musical playground, as they call it, because the ones they have there, they're atrocious. So, and then looking at the big ticket item there is finishing the door access controls, internal, external cameras. Right now, Titan Hill's exterior cameras are in very, very rough shape, and they don't have any internal cameras. And so they also are missing door access controls on several doors, exterior doors, so making sure that for safety reasons, we get those things taken care of. Going down to middle school, we have replacing blinds in the NPR. We're estimating that about $1,000, and this is everything that's like $1,000 and over. Science room, VCT and Van Zante's room, plastics program renovation. So much of that $125,000 for the plastics program has been fundraised by them, but because we're currently a holding place, in a holding pattern for that, that's why it's up there on a budget sheet. So they have actually fundraised $90,000 for that. So the majority of that will be paid for out of their funds, and we'll contribute the remainder just to make sure we can renovate that classroom that used to be a horrible dungeon area into a nice space for students to be able to participate in their learning there. Courtyard sewer project, that was just the one section of pipe between the two schools that they were able to replace without disrupting the school day because it's outside. So it's in that courtyard area. They were able to tear that up. Adding bathroom dividers, urinals. So we don't currently have any dividers in our urinals throughout the entire middle school. So, and that's just the urinals, not the toilets. And so going through and looking to add those. Now that number could be an asterisk because if we end up doing a high school bathroom renovation that we're currently looking for bids for, we could potentially reuse those dividers in the middle school. Some of the dividers are fine, some of them are all scratched up because high schoolers, scratch them all up. So what we would look to do is repurpose the ones that are still in good shape and we would have enough to be able to do the middle school. So that's a holding one right now. Council heat pumps. So we purchased 4 heat pumps. We purchased 7 controllers, and our HVAC guy on staff is going to be able to install those ourselves. We purchased a compressor for the entryway. The camera in the stairwell, actually, we were able to repurpose one, so that actually came to $0. Hot water storage tank, the one we have downstairs is leaking, and so trying to figure out what does that take to get that tank out of there. Still trying to determine if we can buy a tank and do it ourselves, or if that's something that we need to have a plumber come in and do for us. Genetech StreamVault Archiver, we're trying to see if insurance is going to cover that. That looks like it could be a possible $8,000 purchase. And then boys' locker room partitions in the basement. So that's in the basement, just trying to make sure we can put up some partitions down there. Once again, it's kind of in a holding pattern depending on what we do at the high school. So if you're going on the high school, we are looking at HVAC controls. Right now that's $65,000, so that is bid out. That's actually already that is part of work that was approved last year from a company, and they just haven't done any of the work yet. And so we're still waiting for them to come and do the work, but it will fall under our budget year this year, so that's $65,000. There's the commons bathrooms, and when I say that, there's 2 bathrooms, a boys and girls bathroom that's out in the commons. The work to redo the bathrooms in there, which would include almost a gut job, just kind of getting all the tile off the wall, replacing the counters, replacing the sinks, not really replacing the plumbing in general, just replacing like the sinks. We'll reuse as many of the toilets and urinals and those types of things that are in good shape as we can. It's incredibly expensive to do bathrooms. To give you an idea, this number was originally $100,000 when we put it in here, and based on the bids, the initial bids that we've started to look at, this thing could be anywhere from 160 to 220, depending on where we go. Now we're trying to actually do some of the work ourselves, like the removal of the tiles and that kind of stuff, some of the demo work in order to knock that cost down. So we're still working through that and to see if we can get it to a manageable number. If it exceeds that, they just raised the bidding threshold to $181,000. If it exceeds that bidding threshold, then we're going to have to go through a statewide bidding process, and then it just gets a whole lot more complicated. So just trying to see what exactly is it going to fall in, just with our local construction people that are bidding on that. Message board, TV and electrical, that's been done. That's put message boards in the high school. They did that for safety reasons, so they can put up messages, they can steer people to certain directions. VAV controllers, this is again an HVAC thing, pipe insulation in the high school. the HVAC in the high school up in the ceiling was leaking all over the floor, which actually caused floor damage. That's something that will probably be added to this, as we have two issues in the high school. One is floor damage from that water in the high school gym that usually goes under the home side bleachers. And then the other one is there's a couple boards in the small gym under one side that are cracked. And so when you bounce a basketball, it dies, which is not, I mean, you can't have a competition gym when the basketball doesn't bounce. So those aren't going to be huge costs. I'm just letting you know that they'll hit up here because they'll exceed $1,000. But so like I said, these things are this is a working document. Shot clocks, we had to install those by state rule. Those are $5,600. Recirculation pump at the high school, classroom GFCI receptacles, garage door receptacles, mixing valves. To be honest, I'm not really sure what mixing valves are, but they've already purchased the valves. They're planning on replacing them ourselves this summer. And then finishing door access control. So this is another safety issue. So this includes the finishing. This is like a phased in, how I understand it, Dave. Is that correct?
This includes one camera is all, and all the rest are door access controls, key card access controls to areas like the area just outside the gym doors, exterior doors, and then it includes alerting systems for a lot of the other doors where we're not going to key card them, but we want to know when they're open. So there'll be alerting systems on the rest of those doors.
So that's another safety thing. By getting all the exterior doors, we're able to know what doors are open and when and by who. So that helps us. And then we also alerts us when they're left open. So
you'll know if they're propped.
correct.
Yeah.
So then we also go down to installing new springs and overhead door, bathroom fixtures, hot water boiler. That was a big thing. Our hot water boiler failed on us in December, so we had to get it replaced. And then our VAV controllers. So those are already purchased. Again, we're going to do that work in-house. If you continue to go down, you'll see athletic grounds. Those are green. Only a portion of those, the portion that we pay for, is in the budget. The Booster Club's portion is in our budget right now, and they will reimburse us. But that's one of the things I want to make sure that when we talk about a budgetary number, we can't overspend that number just because we're going to expect to have some reimbursement in that. You know, as they reimburse us, that'll actually give us more money that year to be able to continue with other projects. So if you continue to go down, we have some both the PAC here and the ERC. So the main doors for the auditorium, the glass doors, people have walked into those, and so we are looking to bring in a company to do some decorative frosting in a minimal area across the middle, so that way they're definitely recognized as a door, but then also to come up here, and we have some windows in our corridor that were that even though they tried to frost them when they installed them, they're still way too bright. They shine right in the eyes of our people that sit right out there. So there's just a variety of frosting. And then going through the other buildings, we walked through several of the buildings, and they had some areas like windows into conference rooms and et cetera, where the blinds have failed. So rather than replace the blinds, we're just going to frost the window. So you can kind of see out, can't see in, that kind of stuff. Or if you can see in, it's muffled. So, when we have important meetings, the busybodies don't get up popping all the time. So. And then we have district drinking fountains. So we did purchase 8 drinking fountains that are all water bottle fillers that will continue to, it's kind of a process again. They replaced several of those drinking fountains over the last couple of years throughout the school, just continuing to replace those drinking fountains. We have some like in the high school commons that the water doesn't even, it's like the little trickle like that. You gotta do the old kid thing and stick your mouth on them in order to drink them. So, so replacing those. Operations, they replaced their antenna. Actually, I think they actually put like a stronger antenna up there. LED light bulbs, upright vacuums, orbital floor machines. So some of these things actually get coded to equipment rather than the actual work part. Shelving, walk behind floor scrubber, and then keep going down. Here are some of the vehicles. Here's what we've done with transportation this year. So we purchased the 2018 Silverado for the maintenance department because one of the vehicles is no longer running. a Suburban, to provide a four-wheel drive vehicle. We're going to be purchasing stop arm cameras for, I think it's 6 of our buses. So it's the 6 buses that have the routes where they stop on really busy intersections or really busy roads. We've been having trouble with people driving around our buses with the stop arms out. And so that is extremely dangerous. Not only that, but it's illegal. But unfortunately, we can't prosecute if we don't have cameras. And so we're going to put cameras on our buses and hopefully help try to deter that, and then put out some messaging about our camera system so that way people know, listen, you can't pass our buses when a stop arm's out. I mean, they are expensive. So trying to figure out how can we do it in a way that phases them in, and then starting with the buses that stop on busier intersections where you can drive 35, 40, 50, et cetera. So making sure that doesn't happen. And we purchased a 12-passenger van. Now, one of the things we are trying to figure out is if we can get 2 more Suburbans ordered by the end of the year, or if we can find another 12-passenger van, and then that would replace, and we go 1 Suburban and a 12-passenger van. So we do have some room in that budget to be able to continue to do that. I will say that our staff feels way safer in a Suburban driving in the wintertime when they have a few kids in there, when they have 7 kids, than taking one of our vans. And so for safety and other reasons, I think it's important as we continue to go to balance between the Suburbans and the 12-passenger vans. So, and that's different than the 8-passenger vans we used to purchase. Now we're able to purchase 12, but they have to be used. So finding them is a deal. So, and then finding them for a good cost is a deal. What's funny is I can buy a brand new one cheaper than I can buy a used one, but because of state statute, I'm not allowed to purchase a new 12-passenger van. I can only purchase a used one. So if anybody wants to buy a 12-passenger van and then sell it to us for the new price, you can buy it used. So, and then we have the 2 furniture. So we're doing 1 middle school classroom and then 1 classroom furniture in the high school. And one of the things I want to know is mismatched furniture is one thing. Having furniture that is literally welded together 7 or 8 times is not appropriate. And so that's one of the things that when we talk about mismatched furniture, we're talking furniture that's 30, 40 years old. And so that's where we're at, and that's where we kind of go through. And so when we talk about replacing classroom furniture, it's not because it's the wrong colors. It's because it's literally at the end of its lifespan. We can't do anything more with it. And then looking at equipment, those are the things that were purchased this year. We bought a sander and plow, a Skyjack lift, tracks for skid loader that we already owned, and then the Ventrac, and then the vacuum pump. So that's kind of where we get to that's where we're currently sitting right now. Some of those items we already proceed forward with if we know we can get them, if they're under the $20,000 threshold, of which you guys have to kind of have a separate agenda item. Other than that, we do have some of those on your list tonight to approve separately. So when we come up with this, one of the things I want to know is when we come up with this, it's always hard to determine what it is that we need to focus on and what we need to replace. And so a lot of things, it's kind of like what fits and then what are priorities from there. And so that's kind of where we get to this point.
Does the board have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go on to discussion items. 7.01, second and final reading of 905.1 R2 fee schedule.
So this just takes the fee schedule and input that you guys provided me last board meeting. Dave, pull it up there. So as you go down, those are the changes there. It didn't format very well on this, but it formats nice on the regular. Oh, actually, it's formatted okay. It's just different colors. So, yeah, there's not been any changes. I guess the only thing I did change was from last time was if you look up there before, I kind of mimicked the 1 to 4 and 4 to 8. I did half day and full day. Because to be honest, if you're going to be in there on a day where you're going to have a dance competition, you might go more than 12 hours. You might be there from 7 in the morning until 9 at night, or 10 at night, or whatever it is. And so really half day and full day. So 4 hours less would be considered a half day rate, 4 hours and more is going to be considered a full day rate. So similar to what you find up above, just a different terminology. Other than that, the rest of it's kind of the same. So there are some things, I did add right there, under piano tuning, somebody had I think Mr. Stoffer was the one who mentioned, like, if somebody's going to touch the piano, like, we need to have some oversight on that. So I did put specifically in there, must have permission from and supervision of PAC technician, because I can absolutely see that where somebody comes in and says, I'm gonna tune your grand piano, and they need to do that with our supervision and permission. So if I came in and said that, I would be very scared, I'd be like, no, you're not gonna do that. So.
Is there any questions on the second reading? Okay. All right, we'll go on then to 7.02, cameras and access control bids, safety.
Okay. I'm gonna let Dave talk about this, because this is kind of Dave's baby.
We're bringing two parts of the overarching camera plan and door access control plan to you tonight. The first is for Titan Hill. It includes several doors and replacement of pretty much every external camera and the insertion of internal cameras in the building. Presently, there are no internal cameras unless it's near a key-carded door that has a camera with it. So there are very, very few internal cameras. For example, the camera to the playground has a camera, but it's an internal camera, but it faces the door. It doesn't face internal to the building. So what this does is adds internal cameras throughout the building, much like we've done at the high school and at the middle school. Okay. The high school project includes, I mentioned that a little bit earlier, it includes one camera, and that's one additional camera to the picture, and then it includes external door access controls and external door alerting systems. The second statement of the description is really incorrect. It's not the high school that has cameras beyond their useful life. It's probably Kraft you were thinking of there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because Kraft's external cameras are much like, many of them are much like the cameras at Titan Hill right now. Some of our oldest cameras are those at Titan Hill and at Kraft External right now. Mm-hmm. So this phase this year is to kind of finish the high school. This is the third phase of work at the high school, and the intention is to have kind of a closure to the high school for a while until it's time to renew. We've finished the middle school project through the project that began last summer. I say finished, is still in process, right, for some cameras that have been delayed. But the middle school project at the end of this year's work will be good to go. And then at Titan Hill, this is our first round of external cameras at Titan Hill. The next round of cameras will need to include Kraft, and that sort of depends upon how far we go with Kraft and our timelines for renovation at Kraft. Bottom line is cameras can be repurposed. Door access control systems can be repurposed within reason. But Kraft is kind of the next rollout. And then from our safety audits through Tetra Tech, we have also found that some of our perimeter camera envelope still needs some work at all buildings. In fact, we received today a revision of our original Tetra Tech audits. It even includes the high school and middle school as not passing muster because of perimeter cameras. That would be cameras that look to fencing, to areas that are beyond just parking lots. So we still have that in our future for considerations. But tonight really is about Titan Hill and the high school.
These are accessible by the police, right?
They are accessible by the police when requested.
Right.
We don't have any external holes in our technology system at this point in time,
That's fine.
but we can open them as requested.
Okay.
And so this will be two motions?
Two motions, it's two
Okay.
different bids, yep.
Gotcha. So 90.02 and then 9.03. Was there any questions on Titan Hill? Okay, and then 9.03 is for the high school. Any questions? Did you have anything else to include on that?
No, you'll notice on Titan Hill, there's a credit on Titan Hill's proposal for like $8,300. What that is, we originally asked for a bid early that included some incidental camera and door work that has been accomplished. And when we did that work, we put in cabinetry that would accept more doors. And so what we had the vendor do is kind of use those as part of his new bid. So he combined those together, and so we're using some of our present equipment as the back end to run some of the new equipment that's being put in. So that's what that credit is. It's a credit on the quote, but it's not really money, it's just we're using some of our stuff that we presently have in place to satisfy the needs of driving the new equipment that's going to be there.
Okay. All right, any questions on the high school? Okay.
And just one additional
sure.
thing, just to make sure you know that the building principals were the driving force for where and how many cameras need to be put in place. It wasn't our tech staff saying, here's what you need. It wasn't the vendors saying, here's what you need. It was our tech staff sitting with the principals saying, so, here's the report, and here's what you know about how your building works. Where do these need to go? How many do they need to, where do they need to happen?
Good.
So very much staff involvement in these decisions.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to 7.03, flooring bid.
So we have two bids, so we went out and got, or actually three bids, there's one here. So we got one from Keystone Carpet, and the one I want you guys to focus on is the bid that we're looking at today. They give us all the bids, but it's actually the Titan Hill corridor bid. So one of the bids is, they were giving me total amounts earlier, but looks like they didn't add them up for me. Hold on one second here. Oh, right here. So these two, you can set aside the other ones that they were just in the email. So we printed off copies of them. We don't need those. We need this one right here with the total bid. It's a two-sheeter with the total bid from Kelly's Carpet for $114,021.92. One from the Four Club for $124,285, and then one from the Titan Hill Intermediate, or from Keystone Carpet for $110,380. So, so those are the three bids that we're looking at. The rest of these are just, that's extra. That's those are the two individual classrooms that we've already moved forward with. It's because they were under the amount that you guys need approved.
So it's only the corridor piece?
It's only the corridor piece that you guys need to take a look at. So, and taking a look at the corridors, there's three different bids here. I will say that the one we're going to recommend is going to be Kelly's Carpet because their bid includes a 4.5-inch rubber base. And Keystone Carpet just had a 4-inch rubber base. We currently have a 4.5-inch rubber base. And so if we don't get another 4.5-inch rubber base, we're gonna have to go around and do a ton of repair and work on that extra half inch throughout the entirety of the building. And not only that, but Kelly's Carpets also includes some walk-off allowance in there for the entries that Keystone does not include. So both cover the square footage. The cost per square footage, when you look at total square footage, is within a penny per square foot. The difference just comes down to that 4.5-inch base versus the 4-inch base. And so I can't put a dollar amount to the amount of labor and work it would take us to go around and fix everything, but it would be pretty significant. So the recommendation would be to go with Kelly's Carpet.
And that's the total of 114?
114, 2192.
And when would they be doing this work, this summer?
Yep, they would do that this summer.
Okay. How will that impact LCLC at all?
Not really much at
Okay.
all. No, because they're mostly in the commons area and they have tile in there. So that's
Okay.
not gonna be touched.
Okay, this is the wings.
Yeah, the wings and then the immediate entry when you walk in. And so with the amount of students that we have, I mean, it's an elementary school, the amount of students that we have up and down off the carpet and moving around. The other thing is this puts down carpet squares instead of loom carpet, which allows us to replace individual sections as they go bad. So right now, we have quite a few sections that are corner coming up, and there's not much we can do with that. So this is going in and replacing it with carpet squares that, I mean, hopefully, the nice thing about carpet squares is they last a very long time because you can replace a bunch of areas, so.
Great.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go with Kelly's. Okay,
That would be my recommendation.
all right. Any questions?
Was the carpet the same?
Same carpet, yep.
Okay.
Okay. We'll go to 7.04, open enrollment application request. Per Iowa code, we are allowed to go into closed session for this, and so I will need a motion for us to go into closed session.
So moved.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheppel?
Yes. we are back from closed session. This is the second time during our agenda that anyone from the audience or online, if they want to type something in, can address the board. Okay, if you want to come up and state your name.
I'm Roger Williams.
Okay.
It's not bad things this time. This was about your stop arm camera suggestion that you were talking about. I guess I think that's a great idea, but I would also encourage you to have your bus drivers talk with the driver that takes the kids out this highway and goes toward Glenwood. I live on this highway and I follow that bus every day after work. That driver parks on the highway like that. Rain is passing it, and it's a fantastic deal. I would encourage you to have all your drivers play that game. Might help at that intersection you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And give them a pat on the back.
Yeah, they are actually trained to do that. And so the situation that occurred last time was the driver did park like that, and a bus and a car at 40 mile an hour passed him on the shoulder.
Wow.
So,
Can't stop it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yep, we had a question online about the Dave's security piece. Will this get all the doors at the high school and Titan Hill with control doors?
Go ahead.
The answer is, at this time, all the planned doors will be handled. Now, that's not to say that we find later on that an alarmed door needs to be key carded, right? But right now, the plan is to cover all of the external doors with either key card or alarming systems. I also neglected to mention that this also does include a couple of temperature control systems for a couple of our freezers as well. So the Genetec system has the ability to handle all that kind of work, and we've included some of that in this bid too. You saw them on the bids.
And that's good, because you need to be notified if there's a temp goes down, so you can save the food and product and everything else in it. So,
Yes.
absolutely.
I could see us adding quite a few more temperature control systems. They're not very expensive. And for example, in our main distribution frame, anywhere where we have lots of technology systems, where we have a Mitsubishi climate control unit in the space, for us to know if that fails relatively quickly is kind of an important thing. So we may, and those are minor costs. Those are kinds of things that can be added later with no problem.
Okay. All right. We'll go on then to action items. 9.01, second and final reading of 905.1 R2, the fee schedule.
Hold on.
Madam President,
Thank you. I'm having a
Mr.
hard time scrolling
Houston.
there.
I would like to make a motion to recommend the approval of the second and final reading of policy 9051R1, the fee schedule as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.02, cameras and access control bid for Titan Hill.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. House, Mr. House, Mr. Stoffer.
I'm having a tough time today. All right, recommend to approve the camera and access control bid to Prime Communications for the Titan Hill Safety Project for $64,342.40.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wylage?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. And just to throw it out there, any board member can make a motion at any time, so it's okay, not only one person has to do it. So 9.03, cameras and access control bid for the high school.
Madam President,
Mr. Stoffer.
I'd like to make a recommendation, or I'd like to make a motion to approve the camera and access control bid to Prime Communications for the high school safety project for $71,144.84.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. 9.04, the flooring bid.
Madam President,
Mr. Stoffer.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Kelly Carpet's bid of $114,021.92.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. 9.05, open enrollment application request.
Madam President,
Mr. Stoffer.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the open enrollment application.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. 9.06, employee request for other paid or unpaid leave.
Madam President,
Mr. Stoffer.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes. And we do have a board work session, but we will go ahead, should we go ahead and adjourn?
Yep,
All right.
adjourn.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Well, you're staying anyway, so.